Hello to all you lovely people out there. Today I'm sharing with you the 3 do's of writing a strong first chapter. Let's go. Before we get to those 3 do's, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell for content just like this. I'm Octavia D. Mason, giving practical writing tips to beginner writers, book talks to book readers, and vlogs to both. Let's get started. We all know the first chapter can be one of the most vital parts in a novel. Just like the blurb on the back of a book cover, the first chapter can be a deciding factor on whether the reader will pick up the book and take it with them and read it. So I want to give you the 3 do's of writing a strong first chapter. This way, you can not only get your reader's attention, but you can captivate them in the process. The first do of creating a strong first chapter is create a strong first line. The first line of a chapter can sometimes be just as important as the blurb on the back of the book. Most readers, if intrigued by the blurb, will open up the book and then read the first line. Now, if they are intrigued by that first line, then they will continue to read the rest of the book, more than likely. Here are 2 examples of strong first-liners that will catch the reader's attention and cause them to read throughout the rest of the book. The first one is John Grisham's The Last Juror. And it goes as this. After decades of patient mismanagement and loving neglect, the Ford County Times went bankrupt in 1970. This first example is subtle, and it has me wondering what has caused this newspaper to fail so seemingly horribly. And then I ask myself, who is responsible for this disastrous failing of a newspaper? The second example is from Rachel Hawkins' Rebel Belle. And her first liner goes as, goes as this. Looking back, none of this would have happened if I brought lip gloss the night of the homecoming dance. Now this one is just very intriguing because I find myself wondering what effect could having lip gloss have on anything? And then I begin to ask, what actually happened at this homecoming dance? And would having lip gloss, would it have changed something drastically, or would it have been like a subtle change? I have so many questions after reading this first line. It leaves me wanting more. And that's what a first liner does. Leaves you wanting more. Disclaimer. Having a phenomenal and fantastic first liner in your first page of your novel isn't a mandatory thing, but if you are to have one, make sure that it is pertinent to the story and not something that is randomly thrown in to have a big bang or to make it seem like it's going to be spectacular or anything like that. Use it and make sure that it's pertinent to the story. Want more tips on hooking your reader? Be sure to check out my video on how to hook your reader on the first page, right here or right here. The second do of creating a strong first chapter is introduce your main character in the first chapter. This is important because when a reader opens your book to the first chapter, they do not want to be introduced to a minuscule side character who dies 2 chapters later. They want to see the main character first. And this is important because when a reader sees the first person in the book, that is who they more than likely will connect with first. And when introducing the main character, be sure in that first chapter to give a few details about the character's personality. It doesn't have to be anything that is drawn out or elongated, but the reader wants to know just a little bit more about that main character because they want to know who they're connecting with and who they will be following throughout the chapter. All those other details about that main character can be drawn out or added to more so in the next chapters that are to come. The first do in writing a strong first chapter is give your readers a reason to stay. And what this means is showing your main characters conflict. Not the full conflict that your character will go through, but a sample of the conflict that your character will go through. And this conflict doesn't have to be introduced in that first line or even in the first paragraph, but it needs to show that your character is going through something that is going to push the plot forward. But the reader wants to know just a little bit of what your character is fighting for or fighting against. And this should be done by at least the end of the first chapter. In the opening or in the first chapter of my book, The Group, my main character, Amico Marquise's conflict is presented in the form of a strange man who she meets in the first chapter. And by the end of the chapter, my readers are wanting to know, who is this strange man and why is he talking to Amico Marquise? Will he show up again and how will she respond? My readers are wanting to know all of this information that is presented in the form of a conflict of meeting this strange man whose intentions aren't known to the main character, Amico Marquise. This leaves them wanting to know more about Amico and how she will respond and about this strange person that she meets. That conflict that is presented in the first chapter of your book shouldn't be the full conflict that your main character faces. It should be a sample. It should be something that is enough to keep your readers' attention and something that keeps them continuing to read. These are the 3 do's of writing a strong first chapter. O.D.M question of the day. How do you write a strong first chapter? Do you use some of these techniques or do you use your own? Let me know in the comment section below. Hey lovely people, if you're interested in the books that I use as examples, The Last Juror by John Grisham, Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins, The Group by me, Octavia D. Mason, they are linked in the description below. If you're interested in more content like this, check out my other videos on practical writing tips. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for weekly videos. I'm Octavia D. Mason with tips for the writers, books for the readers, and blogs to both. Have a lovely day. Peace.